hi, everybody. One of the questions that farm families need to ask themselves is when you're dead and gone and your legacy is living on the farm, the question would be, will your kids all get together for Christmas dinner? And this is an increasingly important topic because as farm values rise and you've got children that are farming and other children that are off the farm, how the heck do you handle the estate? And is equal fair? And so we have a guest today, Derryn Shrosbree with 33seven, and I go way back to Strategic Coach. And Derryn has spoken at a lot of the events that we jointly have been involved in, including Outstanding Young Farmer Events of Canada and Convergence conferences. And most importantly, Derryn has played a pretty big role in the Power Farm Group. He's got a really interesting process that they're involved in farm continuity planning called the Farm Liquidity Solution. And I actually put myself through that when I sold Agritrend back in 2015. I did a bunch of estate planning and I was stroking out checks for permanent life insurance. And the first couple of years is easy to stroke out big checks. But after a while, I needed the money to grow my company again. And Derryn came along through Strategic Coach. We put myself through the process, and then I put a number of farmers through the process. So welcome to the AGvisor podcast, Derryn.
Thank you very much, Rob. It's great to be here and always a pleasure to see you.
Yep, and you 33seven has been a longtime supporter of AGvisor Pro. AGvisor Pro is a mobile platform that connects farmers and ranchers with experts and companies in the agricultural sector. Derryn, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation.
Sure. First and foremost, I'm a farmer. I live in southwestern Ontario. I have a vegetable farm, and I love growing all sorts of esoteric vegetables for direct to restaurant. So that's sort of the day job. We just have 103 acres, and it's really, really fun. And I have a CSA and all that kind of good stuff. So that's the farming component of it. And then when the snow starts flying, we do a lot of continuity planning. So continuity planning is essentially making sure that generation one, the farm can go to generation two, and so on and so forth. So continuity planning for farmers is, I think, one of the most important things that farmers can take a look at, because if you're not farming for your kids, you're farming for the government. So putting some things in place and putting some, some structure and some scaffolding to prevent the government from coming in and taking acreage and combines is a fairly handy and useful thing to do. So that's what we do. We do lots and lots of continuity planning for farmers across the country.
Yep. So I'm very familiar with this topic, but this is a very important topic, and it's a topic where farmers and farm families will tend to kick the can down the road. They don't really want to grapple with it, but this is one of the most important conversations people can have. Christmas is coming up, and it might be a good time to sit down and have a chat with a family about what the structure could or should look like going forward.
Yes, absolutely. Like, if you're not having these conversations, then you're essentially setting up, not just for financial failure, but definitely for family failure. Because if your conversations are not done when you're alive, and they are hard for sure, not to discount that, you're generally going to have a family breakdown afterwards. Because what isn't said while you're alive is acted upon when you're dead. And that's very, very important to note. So, as unpleasant as death and taxes are, they both happen. And not talking about them doesn't make them go away. It makes them worse. So trying to have open and honest conversations around the kitchen table or whatever dining room table you're having at supper on Christmas would be good. Because why are we doing this? Why do we get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and farm? Well, we farm for our family. And, you might be unwittingly setting up your family to split in half or break down because these hard conversations were not done while you were alive.
You and I both know this one farm, R&J. They were one of the first farms that went through the process with us, and they have a farming son, and they have two other non-farming children. And so when they pass away, are they going to split up the farm? Are they going to cut up the farm? Are they going to have to force what kind of a legacy does that leave for the farming kid? And the other ones are kind of looking over the fence, saying the farm's worth a lot of money. It used to be $400 an acre. Now it's 4,000 or 8,000, 12,000 bucks an acre, the value of the farm. But that doesn't mean that that farming kid is sitting there with a bunch of cash in his pocket. He's
Oh.
he's working every day on the farm. So, so you got to figure this kind of thing out. Is it better off for the city kids to get 500,000, $1 million, $2 million in their pockets each and let the farm kid keep on farming? These are kind of the conversations that have to happen.
Yeah, because I think you hit the nail on the head, Rob. It's the child who's farming didn't get a $12 million check. He got zero money. He got all the responsibility. He got all the debt. He got all the work. He got all the stress. And yes, the farm is worth 12 million, but he has to sell it to gain that, and he doesn't want to sell it because he wants to be a farmer. So the off-farm
Or
thing.
she. We should.
Sorry, my
or
bad.
she,
My bad.
yeah,
Yeah, or she. There's we know lots of female farms.
Yep.
So we got to be very cognizant of the fact that the city kids look at it and say, "Oh, you got a $12 million piece of land," but like, no, you didn't. You didn't get that. You got all of these things plus the value of land, which has to be realized over time. So how do you estate equalize? So to your point again, a farm is not a pie. You can't cut it up, and fair is not equal, and equal is not fair. You can't take a $12 million farm and split it in between 3 kids, one on farm, 2 off farm, because then each one gets what? Yeah. $4
Yep.
million bucks. Like the farm can't afford to write an $8 million check to estate equalize. It doesn't make sense. It'll wreck the farm, which means that those 3 siblings no longer have supper together. Because if you encumber the farm with millions of debt, the farm can't handle A, they have to pay the loan back, and B, they have to service the interest. They can't afford it. Right? The guy who got the farm, or the girl who got the farm, they still drive the same 10-year-old truck, and they still wear the same old Carhartt shorts and long pants in winter, right? They're not going on a spending spree because they don't have the money. It's not like they have the same. So how do we estate equalize? Well, the off-farm kids have to realize that we can use insurance. Life insurance is a very handy way to do it. We can use off-farm assets like real estate, like buying condos or building apartment buildings or something like that. So they have an off-farm asset which generates them intergenerational wealth, as opposed to encumbering the farm with debt, which will tear the family asunder, right? We have ideas where we can put assets in place for off-farm children that maintain the family harmony so that people can still have supper together in December.
Yeah. So in my own case, back in when I sold AgriTrend, I took out a very healthy permanent life insurance policy and was stroking fairly big checks, like $100,000 or more a year in premiums. And so first couple of years, it's not a big deal. But after that, I've been building another company. I needed the cash. So you and I structured an arrangement where the holding company owns the life insurance policy or pays the life insurance policy premium, and I pledge my death against that premium. And a financial institution actually puts the money back in my pocket. I loan it back into my holding company. The holding company now is not out of any cash, and I have a permanent life insurance policy that's growing in value. So that was very simplistic, but this is kind of the process that began our relationship and something that we took to other farmers in the Farm Liquidity Solution. And you've done quite a few of these now.
Yes, so we've done dozens of them, not only with Power Farm, but with the Outstanding Young Farmers Group. Obviously, we went to Convergence for a couple of years there. We met a whole bunch of folks there. So yeah, we're fairly well known up and down, sort of certainly in the prairies, where we do a great deal of business. And it's the whole continuity planning thing is very simple if you have one quarterback doing it. The reason 88% of farmers don't have a continuity plan is, I think, because it takes 5 advisors to get a continuity plan done, which means that it takes a long time. But if you have one person who understands the entire process and has specialties underneath them, it makes it really quick. So the way we do it is we have 5 modules. So module 1 is a business valuation and a personal net worth statement, which takes 1 hour. Then the second is we look at the estate freeze and family trust, which takes 1 hour. The third hour, do your primary and secondary wills. That's 3 hours. The fourth hour is insurance and risk mitigation. So both property and casualty and life insurance. And the fifth hour is off farm assets. So in 5 hours, you can get your entire continuity plan done. What we've started is we do 1 hour per week for 5 weeks. And in 5 weeks, which normally takes $100,000 of cash and 2 years to get done because there's 5 different humans, we get it done through me with my team. 5 weeks, 5 hours, your continuity plan is done. So that's quick and easy. And we believe that we'll have a significant impact on the farming community because now we've made it accessible for farmers to get their continuity plan done quickly and efficiently and no cost, which is important, right? The execution of the plan, yes, there's cost after the execution, but the plan itself is written down, it's video recorded and sent to you. So that's kind of a nice place to be. So if you started now, before Christmas, you could have a plan done.
You mentioned the Outstanding Young Farmers of Canada.
Yes.
33seven has been on AgVisor Pro for a long, long time now. Thank you for that. We just opened up a community for the Outstanding Young Farmers of Canada on AgVisor Pro. You and I are both going to be in Toronto at that event. Let's talk really quickly about that event. We want people to download AgVisor Pro to connect with 33seven. We want people to download AgVisor Pro, connect with the Outstanding Young Farmers of Canada. But I know you've been a proponent of that organization, and I guess we're going to be in your backyard this year in Toronto.
Yes, yeah, last year we were in Lethbridge, which was a phenomenal event. Remember seeing you there as well. This year it is in Toronto, so in my backyard. So that's going to be good. It's from the November 25th to the 30th, and there's about 250 to 300 alumni and OAF farmers in Toronto. We've got farm tours going on. We have a cooking class. We have all sorts of fun stuff highlighting, Ontario's produce and Ontario's delights. So it's going to be a really fun event. Obviously, all the winners from the provinces come to nationals, and then the national winner is announced, and that's the most outstanding farmer. Although they're all outstanding, whoever is nominated. But it's going to be a fun time. And yes, AgVisor Pro sort of brings the whole community together, and we can all enjoy that ecosystem. And there's photos and all sorts of fun stuff that goes on that platform. So really looking forward to downloading that and getting that started.
It's going to be a good event. And if anybody's listening and wants to nominate a neighbor, somebody they know in the farming community for the Outstanding Young Farmers of Canada, please look that up on their website, or just go into the community on AgVisor Pro, and you can do that. Connect with them. So some big news from your camp, Derryn. You announced that 33seven was collaborating with Hub to help bring the Farm Liquidity Solution, the tax-free zone, to farmers across Western Canada and Canada. Let's talk a little bit about that announcement, and congratulations. And let's hear a little bit about that.
Sure. So everyone knows who Hub is. Hub is a $29 billion international company that does predominantly property and casualty insurance. So they insure your combine, they do crop insurance, they do bonds, everything, fire, water, damage, houses, ATVs, you name it, they do it. So a very, very large company that does risk mitigation in the physical space of physical stuff. So we started talking to them quite some time back, and they realized that they had a need for someone to come in and do continuity planning for them, because if they're doing risk mitigation on the farm anyway, and they know over 100,000 farmers in Canada, the one piece they were missing was, they got a lot of farmers were asking questions about, well, you guys do all my property and casualty, but what about continuity? Like, is there anything you can help me with? Because there's a state equalization and all this kind of stuff that we touched on before. And 33seven has done some pretty good stuff in the continuity space in Canada. So Hub reached out and we sort of sat down, and now I'm looking after the continuity space and the farming, predominantly in the farming area, for Hub. So I'm delighted to be part of that very, very large organization and to be spearheading what I believe is one of the most important aspects of farming in Canada, which is allowing the next generation to continue farming in a tax efficient and risk-free way.
So I know this is a fairly recent announcement, but even for me, genuinely curious as how does this extend your reach? What does it mean for you? Does it bring more resources to you? Are you bringing more resources to them? I'm gathering a little bit of both, maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of both. Obviously, anyone who teams up with a nigh on $30 billion company has more resources at their disposal. So the conversations get bigger, which is interesting. What they liked about our approach was 99% of our approach is education, and we lead with education and lead with value. So the 5 modules I spoke about, you actually come away with tangible assets that you can use for your continuity plan. And there's no sale at all throughout that entire process. So they like the fact that we educate, we care. They obviously like the fact that I'm a farmer myself. That was handy. And we're in the space. So we live it, we eat it, we breathe it. And they've said some nice things like we're the #1 continuity planning shop in the country, which is always a good feather in the cap, especially from the big boys. So we fill the niche within their portfolio that they have tried this before, and it didn't work according to what their mandate was. So they've given me a shot at looking after the continuity planning for Hub, and it's a big responsibility, but I'm definitely super excited about it. And 2026 is going to bring some amazing things to their existing 100,000 farmers that are already clients. We can go in and help them with their continuity planning, because if you already like, believe, and trust your PNC guy, we're an extension of your PNC guy who's, you guys have been in the combine at 2 o'clock in the morning and your PNC guy has delivered food to you.
What does PNC mean?
Sorry, property and casualty.
Okay. All right.
Property and casualty.
Yep.
A lot of the property and casualty guys will especially in harvest time, when the guys are literally at 2 o'clock in the morning in the cab and there's no food, the property and casualty guys will actually drive out and like drop off sandwiches and drinks and stuff like that. So that you know these guys, you've known your brokers for years, and you hopefully like, believe, and trust them. We're an extension of that. So we're excited to be in the tent, so to speak, with the Hub folks.
So you've already got a team. You talked about your 5 steps.
Yep.
A farm can engage with you, and you've got these 5 steps. So I'm assuming, I know you have a team of experts that you lean on. And to be clear, you said it before, but a farmer that engages with you, a farm family that engages with you, there's no cost on doing this assessment. Am I correct?
The plan, yes, the full plan. Like, you'll get a written out full plan of 5 modules, and it doesn't cost you a dime, like not
Okay.
a single penny. So we do this all the time, and our team is so efficient that it doesn't cost us anything except time. So when we love helping, so it's not going to be, because I believe the billable hour stops people from doing planning. And I believe that if there's 5 human beings with 5 different agendas and 5 different schedules, people try to do continuity planning and then they fail, and then they just go plant more canola. They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. It sucked.
Yeah.
It's horrible. So I believe we fixed 2 things. 1, the billable hour, and 2, the buck stops here. There's just me. Yes, I have silos below me, and we have team members, and we have a big team, but every single thing comes through one guy. So from a holistic standpoint, I know exactly what's going on, because a lawyer doesn't speak Accountanese. Like, an accountant doesn't speak legalese. We speak both because we have both in-house.
We're going into Agri-Trade this week here in Red Deer, a big trade show, and there'll be thousands, tens of thousands of farmers there. And you're right. I can pick up the conversation about what's the yield of canola or how's the rainfall, and the conversation just goes on from there. But if I ask the question of, is your will current? By the way, I'm going to refresh my will this afternoon, so the timing of this conversation is good. But is your will current? Have you figured out how you're going to deal with the non-farming children? That conversation just goes cold, and they go, "Hey, I got a combine I need to have a look at." So
Yep.
it's one of those really important, and people think it's not urgent, so they kick the can down the road. They think, "Well, I can deal with this tomorrow," but this week, Friday, there's a funeral here in town with one of our farmers, and his dad just passed away. And have they got things set up the way they need to, And so it's a hard conversation to have. I want you to share. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd just be like, I'll give you the percentage. I think 88% he doesn't have a plan. That's the odds. The odds are that he only has a 12% chance that he actually has a plan for the funeral on Friday, because that's the stats from FCC. So it's, since I've known you, which is over a decade, how many people have we discussed, like, oh, this person died, this person died, this person died in a tragic accident involving a combine and another thing which moves at a very high speed on rails, like really bad things, right? And it's not once, it's not twice, it's dozens of times. And people just don't, you also mentioned this earlier, like, procrastination is a killer. Like, it literally is a killer, and it can wreck your family. So the whole thing is avoidable. It's completely avoidable, but you've got to just make the first step. And the first step is start the conversation. Like, just start chatting. You don't have to do anything, but let's just chat about it and see where you are. You know?
So I've got something I'm going to share with you, but I've been using AI to be able to have a conversation with AI about my life and then structure some things that turned out very, very well. And I was able to, think through some of the processes. This is another area that I think you and I are going to exploit more in the future. Just that whole ability to have that conversation.
Yeah, you know what's funny? If you go to ChatGPT and you ask them who does continuity planning in Canada, guess who shows up?
Rob Saik?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Good. Good.
Interesting.
Good for you guys. Fantastic. So, Derryn, as we wind down the conversation, I want you to think through the processes that you've done with farm families, and just think about a couple examples. What is the outcome? What does it feel like when you know? Let's start. From day one, everybody's nervous, arms are crossed probably, and they body language, and there's a lot of nervousness, and then at the end of it, at the end of the process, and this thing is never really over because you have to keep updating your will. But talk to us a little bit about the feeling that happens when somebody finally gets it done.
So it's a feeling of great relief, um, because it's constantly in your mind. It's like you have this thing that just is always in the back of your mind. You know you have to do it and you don't want to. There's an interesting concept called eat the frog, where you wake up in the morning and you do the thing that you don't
Yeah.
want to do first. Eat the frog. Like, no one wants to do this. No one wants to talk about their mortality. No one wants to talk about them, leaving the farm. Not physically leaving, but leaving the farm to someone else. There's control issues. There's self-worth issues, etc., etc. So it's very much a stress ball that is just constantly with you. And what I found, to your point, is that people start like this and they sit back. So I have a friend who but I can't mention on this, called me an Avon salesman one day. And on the first call, he was like, I have known Avon salesman better than you. And I'm like, wow, that is interesting. Just to test, to see, right? So there's a lot of folks that are very, very reticent to have the conversation. But once they've gone through the process and they get educated, because all it is, the first 5 modules we do, it's just education. It's just showing you what is possible and asking you questions, like open-ended questions. Once they go through it, they come with their shoulders go down 3 inches and they just become super, super relaxed and really happy. And then they say the old thing, I should have done it 10 years ago. Every single person says, I should have done it 10 years ago. What stopped me? Well, it's mindset. It's all mindset, right? And it's entrenched and it's ingrained that people, or men specifically, don't really grapple with mortality particularly well, and they don't talk about their feelings, and they don't open up to their family as much as perhaps they should. So if I in wrapping it up, in conclusion, the mathematics is easy. We have the solution. I promise you we have it. What's hard? The soft stuff, the chat, the opening up to your son, saying something like, I'm proud of you and I really believe that you can take over the farm, or having a more difficult conversation of, you need to step up in this department because you're not good enough, or whatever the case may be. That's hard. That's the most difficult part. But we facilitate that and we help you through that by asking you open-ended questions that will lead you to being able to have those conversations, right?
Well, I really like the idea of the process, Derryn. I think about all of the farm families that I know. Uh, these farms have increased in wealth. Generally speaking, not to pigeonhole, but generally, dad is thinking about the land and the equipment, and mom often thinks about the family and how they're going to hold. And I'm generalizing here, but there is two sides to the equation. There's the whole financial side, and then there's a whole soft skills side about the dynamics of the family, and both need to be addressed. And that's part of the process.
For sure. Absolutely it is. Yeah.
So let's wind up with this. Repeat the 5 steps again, and then share with the audience how they can get a hold of you.
Sure. Okay. So the 5 steps. Module number 1 is business valuation and personal net worth statement. That's where we pop the hood to see what you got. Right. That then results in 3 numbers. 1, the big enterprise number, and then 2 numbers. What is taxable? What is tax exempt? We use those 3 numbers to then go into module 2. Module 2 is an estate freeze worthwhile, which freezes into a trust. What a freeze does is it locks the value and your tax bill in today's dollars. You don't pay the bill today, but it locks it in. It pushes the value to the next generation, which means you've deferred your tax bill 50 years, right? And you've locked in your current tax bill, which is much lower than if you left rolling for 20 years. So that's your estate freeze. That freeze goes into a trust. The trust is who is in the tent with you. How do you protect your bloodline? How do you protect from spouses leaving? How do you protect from all the risk around farm continuity planning? A trust is very handy from a risk mitigation perspective. That's module 2. Module 3, we do your wills, primary will and your secondary will in 1 hour. We get it done, right? Then your wills are current. You're good to go. That's module 3. Module 4, we hit risk and tax mitigation big time. And that's where we do the farm liquidity solution, the tax-free zone. We can look at property and casualty. We can eliminate your personal income tax bill whilst estate equalizing at the same time, right? How do you get the off-farm children to still have dinner with the on-farm child? You make sure your estate equalization is done before you die. That's module 4. Module 5, we continue that a little bit deeper, and we go into alternative assets that can once again give the departing generation off-farm income. So generally we use real estate or liquid assets like stocks and bonds, right? So we'll do real estate and stocks and bonds conversation and all that kind of stuff. That's module 5. Then we do a final wrap-up meeting, which is the satisfaction meeting. We go through every single module. All the modules are written down in Excel, in Word, and they're saved to Future Vault, which is a big vault in the sky. You have the journey. That entire thing you can use. You can take it to FCC. You can take it wherever you want. Or if you want to continue with us, we can execute the plan for you. But that 5 modules gives you a 100% bona fide, bulletproof estate and continuity plan for your farm.
All right. So 33seven can be reached on AGvisor Pro. So download the mobile-centric app, so iOS and Android. Look up 33seven. Derryn can be reached there. You can text him directly. You can have an instant video conversation with him. If you're at the Outstanding Young Farmers events in Toronto coming up, Derryn will be there. We can have a conversation there. Or 33seven can be looked up wherever you have your computer access on. Google it, and you'll find these guys. Apparently, if you AI it, you'll find these guys too. So that's great.
Which is fun.
Derryn, I want to thank you a lot for the clarity that you shared with us today on the process. It's I really was impressed with how succinct you are in describing it. I mean, this is a journey for you as well. You've been developing this thing over a long, long time. I want to thank you for the support for AGvisor Pro, and we'll see you on the highways and byways. And yeah, thanks for being on the AGvisor podcast.
Thanks, Rob. Always a pleasure. Thank you.